Hey, it's Jason Hartman. I want to talk to you hopefully about 2 of the 10 commandments today. Number 6 is thou shalt diversify, and number 7 is thou shalt be area agnostic. I hope I get time to fit both of these in today because they do run together a little bit, okay? So, as I talked about on a prior video, there's these old sayings, right, that give us some good advice for life and investing, right? One is, don't put all your eggs in one basket. And another one, the opposite view of that, comes from Andrew Carnegie. Put all your eggs in one basket and watch that basket, okay? So these are opposing viewpoints, right? But with income property, you can actually have the best of both worlds because you can take the most historically proven asset class, concentrate and focus, but diversify geographically, right? And we recommend that you invest in at least 3 markets, but not more than 5. At least 3, not more than 5. Now, don't make the mistake I made, okay? I want you to learn from my mistakes. It's very costly to make your own mistakes. Learn from mine. It's free, okay? So, one of the mistakes I made is that I over-diversified. When I started investing as a nationwide investor back in 2004, my eyes were bigger than my stomach, right? I was like the guy at the buffet who's hungry, right? Don't go to the grocery store shopping if you're hungry. Don't go to the buffet, the all-you-can-eat buffet if you're hungry, right? Because you will make a mistake. Your eyes are bigger than your stomach. So I bought up everything, and I got to the point where I owned properties in 11 states and 17 cities. And it became unwieldy to manage all those different relationships, different properties, different markets, right? So at least 3 markets, not more than 5, right? Thou shalt diversify. You want to diversify. Diversification perpetuates wealth, but you're also creating wealth with concentration because you're taking the most historically proven asset class, income property, and diversifying geographically. There's an old saying in real estate, all real estate is local. All real estate is local. So take the most historically proven asset class, diversify geographically. All right, let's go on to commandment number 7. Thou shalt be area agnostic. So that area agnostic trademark of mine implies that you shouldn't ever get too attached to any one area. Let me give you the example of my buddy Rick. My buddy Rick owned a house in Newport Beach, California, where I used to live, okay? A very expensive high-end market and a very nice place, right? But definitely a cyclical market. And again, we've talked on the channel and on my podcast, The Creating Wealth Show, about the 3 types of markets: cyclical, linear, and hybrid markets. The cyclical markets being the most risky, the most speculative, the linear being the most conservative, hybrid being somewhere in between the 2, right? And we'll give different examples on future videos of actual cities and markets or metropolitan statistical areas, MSAs, that's a mouthful, that are linear, cyclical, and hybrid. So we'll get to that in the future. But you don't ever want to be too attached to anything. I remember my buddy Rick, when he was moving from Newport Beach to San Diego and contemplating whether he should sell his $900,000 house in Newport Beach. And he could rent his $900,000 beach house for about, I think at the time it was about $3,000 a month. Now, if you've been following my work, I talk a lot about the RV ratio, the rent to value ratio, and we'll explain that in a future video in depth. But basically, you want to get somewhere in the neighborhood, if you can, of about 1% of the value of that property every month. So Rick's $900,000 house ideally would generate about $9,000 a month, not $3,000 a month. No deal on that, right? But Rick had rationalized, like many people do, and I don't fault him for it, I've done the same thing, and many people do this every day, had rationalized that, hey, and he said this to me, he said, this is Newport Beach. It's the beach. It's Southern California. People will always want to live here. Well, he's not wrong about that. The problem is, they may want to live there, but the question is, can they afford to live there, right? And so, don't become too attached to any one area. Be sensible. One of the great things about being a nationwide investor, when I started my journey of doing this in 2004, and I was in real estate many years before that in Southern California, Made a lot of money in Southern California, both investing and brokering for clients. I owned a real estate company that I sold to Coldwell Banker in 2005, owned a couple of mortgage companies, made lots of money there, right? But the thing is, you do not want to become too attached. The great thing about being a nationwide investor, when you buy properties many times that you don't see, you don't get the chance to be irrationally emotional. You don't get the chance to fall in love with a property because a lot of times you don't even go see it. I still own properties after maybe my oldest properties now I've owned for nationwide properties that I haven't seen. I've owned for maybe 12 years. Never seen them. Never met any of the tenants. Never even talked to any of the tenants, right? You are investing in a more rational way because it's arm's length. You're investing based on numbers and fundamentals rather than emotions and thinking, oh, does it have good curb appeal? Is it a great area? That's not the way to invest. Be area agnostic. Never get too attached to any one area. So again, review 2 commandments today. Thou shalt diversify. Thou shalt be area agnostic. And we'll drill down and unpack these a little more in future videos. If you have a question or comment, leave it below or go to jasonhartman.com/ask. Thanks for joining me today and happy investing.